Dream Builder Life Coach. If you're looking for a coach, we're going to connect you. We've got people on our staff, and if you are interested in this for your own coaching practice, you may learn a few things. When we can live life on our terms, on a holistic level, taking into account not just our business lives, but also our health, all of our relationships, from friends, family, to our partners, the world changes. All right, so when it comes to dreaming and learning how to dream again, it's crazy. But one of the things that just amazes me, and I've had the good fortune to work with hundreds of people all over the world, is that at times it's the more and more successful we get, the more and more we forget how to dream. I'm in my house. It's our retreat center up here at 10,000 feet in Colorado, about 30 miles from Aspen, Vail, and Breckenridge, right between all three of them. And we've had retreats here, and I can remember I had a gal, she was a pretty heavy hitter Wall Streeter, and she had moved out here. She'd semi-retired, late 50s. Her kids were out of the house, everybody was good, kids were off the payroll, and she was so frustrated, and she felt embarrassed because she wasn't even sure how to start dreaming again. She actually stood up and dropped a big old F-bomb. She's like, I'm 58 and I don't effing know how to dream anymore. And it will never cease to amaze me how the successful people in the world, and it's not just successful, but there are so many people who get so caught up in the reactionary of just living, reactionary, that we forget how to dream. And it's without that ability to dream, we're not actually going to become who we really, truly are meant to be. So some very specifics, some simple ways that you can start with this is, if you want, you can go to our website. This is my latest book. You can go to lifeon-yourterms.com, lifeon-yourterms.com, and you go about halfway down. Doesn't cost you anything, not any obligation on anything. There's a tool called the balance wheel, and the balance wheel, you put your name in. It takes about 7 minutes, and it'll give you immediate results. But it's going to give you results on a holistic level on how are you doing today. This is where I start with most of the people I work with. So when we think about it, traditionally older folks like myself, we tend to look at our professional lives and our resources. Oh, big title, name, CEO, big cheese, doctor, big bunch of money, house, car, jet, whatever. Well, if that's all you focus on, then you're probably going to be destined to be successful financially, but lonely, fat, and maybe out of shape. So on the flip side, we have the younger kids, the millennials and the Gen Zs, who tend, not always, but tend to focus more on the relationships, their friends, their family, and their partner, and then and more on their health, their physical, their mental, and spiritual. And I think in a lot of ways these are the right questions. But if that's all you're focusing on in your dreams, then you're probably destined to live in your parents' basement. So the question comes into, how can you build a healthy, integrated life? So when you use the balance wheel, that's the first step. Then the next step is to start visualizing, man, if I knew I couldn't fail, dream like you're a 5-year-old. Don't worry about how. Let go of the how. Think about, if I knew I couldn't fail without any margin of doubt, what would amazing look like for each one of these slices? And it comes up in the shape of a wheel with these little pies in it. And think about, God, what would it look like? What would amazing look like for my relationships with my partner or spouse? What would amazing be for my family, my friends? How about my health, my physical health, my spiritual health, my mental health? And now the secret is I do a lot of high-end coaching with even public CEOs. And when I can get somebody to actually start looking at themselves as a holistic entity, they become better at everything they do. So when they're a better parent, when they're managing their health and their spirituality better, they sleep better. Better parent means they're leaving things at home. It means that they can be more present and they can be a better senior leader. But the other thing when you're doing this, and here's the whole purpose, you wanted to know, how is it that we can build this dream life, and how do you find that coach? But building dreams, being that dream builder. Well, to start with is, let's start visualizing what amazing would look like. And if you knew you couldn't fail, what would amazing look like? Just 3 or 4 bullet points for each one of these, not how. Start there. Because when you start to do that, you're going to start to become empowered to say, oh, well, you know what? I can have it. And that's, candidly, why I live in the mountains. Why I still am able to do endurance sports, even with a prosthetic hip and knee. Why we make more money than we ever did. and why we still take 2 months off a year for adventure travel. I feel like the luckiest cat on the planet. And it's because I intentionally focus on trying to visualize and dream. Now there's another tool, once we do that, it's a little bit harder to explain and we won't be able to do it in this video, but in the course and with the coaches we work with, there's something that we call an LCG, a life-changing goal. And you maybe can adapt this in your own way of thinking, but Jim Collins coined the phrase BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. And I've had the good fortune to help companies go from, entrepreneurial all the way to billion-dollar market caps, many of them, not many, but a handful. And with that, it's amazing how when you have this big, hairy, audacious goal out there, well, it helps become a forcing device. It helps us focus on where we want to go. Because so often without a big dream, we react. We're like, oh, I could do this. I don't know. Yeah, I could do this. Oh, somebody knew this guy. Oh, and we end up sort of meandering through life. But when you have a clear goal, I want to go there. Well, it lets you say no to all those other things and stay focused on what it's going to take to build to get there. So an example of a great BHAG was in 1962 when the Russians were kicking our butt in the space race. And President Kennedy said, you know what? We're going to safely send a man to the moon and back by the end of the decade. I don't know how, but we're going to take 2% of our GDP and focus that on there. That was insane. People are like, well, how are we going to do this? I don't know. We got a lot of smart people. We'll figure it out. But it was daring to dream that is what the big part was. And this is where when you start dreaming, how can we start dreaming, but dreaming audaciously? And when you do that in the right way, and that's where you can then achieve your LCG, something that's a life-changing goal, something that's integrated, that's typically bigger than money, that's going to be something that helps you when you wake up in the morning. What is your why? So I will tell you, my LCG is to introduce 1 million people to a new way of thinking, impacting countless lives. I can tell you the first time I wrote that, it was 100,000, and that was about 6 years ago. And I was literally shaking and crying, going, who the fuck am I to have this? I was so filled with imposter syndrome. Oh my God. But I did it anyway. And it's helped focus where I'm going. And I'm very confident that I've had much bigger impact than that already. So we upped it to the 1 million. I think the universe is there and wants to give us everything. We just have to figure out what those things are. So if you found some value in this, hey, please check out some of the other videos on here. If you have questions or you want to reach out, please come reach out directly. We do have the entire course online. It's at lifeon-yourterms.com. If you have questions, let me know. Keep smiling, keep dreaming.